Well, hey everybody, this is Dr. Carmen Bryant. You guys ready? Well, let's do this. Story time. But I'm going to tell it and teach at the same time, okay? Reactive abuse. Reactive abuse. You guys know about the reactive abuse. Narcissist is always going to try to bait you into something. And a lot of times what they'll do is not all narcissists will put their hands on you. Some of them may have been physically violent with you at one point in time, but sometimes they'll notice that the psychological violence will cause you to react quicker than a physical. That's kind of sad. That lets you know that you've been through a lot of stuff with the physical, you'll fight back, but it's gotten to a point where the physical violence doesn't bother you. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Because that lets you know that you've gotten to a point where physical abuse is not affecting you. That means you have grown callous. You have been over abused where you shut down and won't respond. You dissociate. And that's not a good thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a good thing. But there are some narcissists that have picked up on that, and they realize that psychological abuse and verbal abuse is more, they'll get more reaction out of that than the physical abuse. And what they'll do is they'll antagonize you. They call you names. They get into your personal space. Do you know that is still domestic violence? That is still physical abuse. When they get into your physical space, and they're yelling and screaming, and the one that I was married to would yell and scream in my face or my kid's face and would spit and would just spit it. When he's talking, he's spitting. So that is so disrespectful for a person to yell and scream and spit. You got all this spit in your face, and they're doing it on purpose. They're saying every vowel and consonant, and they're making sure that they're emphasizing, articulating those words, and they're spitting on you when they're doing it. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? Or they'll get right into your face and just put their pie face in your face, and they're just in your face while they're talking. They're the pie faces. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? They're big pie faces in your face, and you're trying to move out of the way, and they won't move, or they block you. They block you and won't let you out of the room, or they won't let you get out of a space. They block you. They keep moving as you're moving, or they put their finger in your face, but I'm not touching you. You remember Lilo and Stitch? I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. But they do things like this. They're petty like this. And then they're talking to you, and they're all in your face, and you can feel the wind as they're talking. And that is physical abuse. That is domestic violence. And they're telling you, I'm not touching you. And so you put your hand out and you move their hand out of the way, or you push them, or you mush their face or something. And then all of a sudden, oh, you done touched me now. You put your hands on me, and I did not put my hands on you. I'm calling the po-pos. And all you were trying to do is get them out of your physical space. Or they're humiliating you. They're screaming at you. They're yelling at you, and they're moving around, and they get close to you, and then you push them, or you hit them out of the way, or get out of and they call the police on you. You react, or you're screaming, leave me alone and stop touching me. So guess what happens when the police arrives? You look like the aggressor. You're the one who look like you have lost your mind, hair all over your head. And for some of you men, it's the exact same way. You pushed her out of the way, or get out of my way, or she's trying to poke you, or put something on your chest, take a knife and touch you on your chest, or and you're trying to move this person out of the way, or you pick them up and move them out of your space, and oh, you done touched me now. I'm telling the puppos. That's that reactive abuse. And the police come. Now you look like the aggressor. You look like the crazy one. Your blood pressure's up high. You yelling and screaming. And so what happens with the police officers? They're looking at you like something is wrong with you. You're the aggressor. They don't have any other information. And that narcissist has refueled with that fuel. It's like a drug. Well, all of a sudden they've calmed down, and they're calm, and they're very articulate, and they're explaining, and you're looking like this is not what the person was like just a minute ago. And you're trying to explain to the police officer, and you're screaming and yelling and keeping them away. And so guess who gets arrested? You get arrested because you look like the aggressor. Now, one thing that I really commend to a lot of the police officers that are seasoned, those of you that are watching that are seasoned law enforcement officers that have seen this, I'm not talking about the rookies that are not used to it. I'm talking about these seasoned police officers that come and they recognize this behavior. They've worked with domestic violence. They even talk about it themselves, where they can tell the difference between the aggressor and the person that is having the reactive, the reactive abuse. They're reacting. And so they know how to calm. They know how to handle the situation. They know what is going on. And thank you for those of you that are police police officers that have learned about this, and you've been there, you've seen this, and I'm gonna talk about this one particular one, and he doesn't have a name because I don't know what his name was, and I'm not going to say the city that he was in, but I really commend him. So story time, you ready? So both of us were in the military. He had just came back from deployment. He was in Iraq. Now, if you let him tell the story, and because they need the attention, they need the attention. He got to get the attention. It'll make it seem like he was on the front line fighting with the Marines and the Special Forces and the Navy SEALs. And, when he tells the story, if a plane was shot down or a helicopter was shot down, he was almost on the aircraft. He was almost on the vehicle that was in the accident and people were killed. I was almost among those that caught bin Laden. I mean, is it bin Laden? Yeah, bin Laden, is it? Yeah. But I was almost Osama bin Laden. There we go. But I was almost there when he got caught. And that's Marines. That's Special Forces, but that truck and this happened and the aircraft and then the helicopter. And then he was which the equivalent of like administration, he was the equivalent of like administration. So his responsibility was to keep you in the military. And so, yeah, he traveled around with people, but he wasn't always in the center of some type of trauma happening. But if you let him tell it, he's like a double, triple amputee with purple, green, white, heart, star, bronze star, Navy Cross seal. By the time he through telling you the story, he's a hero. The Mars almost blew up and I was close by. He was always close by something, but he was close to telling a lie every time. I know it's funny, but I'm just telling you the truth. And what had happened was, y'all, he went off on one of his rages, and he was the type of person, he would rage to a point where he was close to having a temper tantrum. I'm surprised he didn't just throw himself on the floor and start kicking in his feet. Now, one time he did get to the point where he locked himself in the closet and tried to strangle himself with the clothes. I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know how that was going to happen, and I didn't react, so he fell out the closet on the floor holding his breath. And I stood there watching to see how long he was going to hold his breath, and I just walked off and shook my head, and he jumped up, and you don't even care. You don't even care. I know you can't hold your breath that long. You didn't even take a bunch of Tylenol and you got a bottle in your hand. It's just dramatic. Narcissists is dramatic. But get back to story time. So what had happened was he returned from, deployment, whatever, and he started raging, getting into an argument. I don't know if it was about food. It was something very simple. But he was waiting for me to react because I was the type of person that was going to react. But that time I was tired, boss. I was tired, y'all. And I just didn't react. So I was sitting on my bed and I was ignoring him. I wouldn't talk to him. I wouldn't say anything. Y'all, this man called the police on me. And when the police got there, told the police I wasn't talking to him. Now, just that alone, he probably has grew from that and come up with some better stories with the new supply. But he called the police on me, and I heard him tell them she won't talk to me. And so I'm sitting in the room. So I'm assuming there's two out there because I'm sitting in the room watching television. I just won't respond. I won't say nothing. I was tired. I dissociated. I was tired. I wasn't going to say anything. And all of a sudden I look up and there's a police stuck his head in my room. He's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and he looked confused and I looked confused. And he was like, he says, hi. And I was like, hey. And he's like, everything all right? I said, yes, sir. He says, what's going on? I said, I have no clue. And he was like, what happened? And I was like, he rages like this all the time. He screams and yells, and I was just tired, and I just didn't want to argue, so I didn't say anything. So I just been sitting here quiet. I haven't said anything. He's like, okay. So I'm listening to him talk to the other police officer in the other room, and he's telling them that he's this Iraq veteran and he has PTSD, and I'm getting his blood pressure up, and I won't talk, and I'm abusive, and I'm just looking at me and the police officers just kind of eyeballing each other. We was kind of looking, and I was like, I don't know what else to tell you, sir. So, I mean, there was no reactive. There was no reaction. I was calm, and he just said, oh, okay. Just everything okay? I was like, yep. And he walked out the room. Till this day, I don't know what happened with that whole thing. I don't even know. I think he came back in and calmed down and realized it wasn't working. And I just love you, and I just love you. I just loved it, you, and whatever. I don't know what happened. I think he left the house or whatever. I don't where he went. I don't know. But y'all, this is how dramatic narcissists can be. Even to a point, they called the police. Y'all, he called the police and told the police. My bad, light went out. Called the police and told the police that I would not talk to him. And the police actually came over there. And it became a sob story, and he was manipulating and trying to get the empathy and the sympathy of these police officers and trying to get them to move, but nothing happened, y'all. It's that reactive abuse. You know what I'm talking about. Some of you guys have went through it yourself. Reactive abuse.